Milwaukee on Wednesday covering the debate. But yes, next year is when the American people can decide what to do about this. And we've had a lot of guests on our show who have said the only way to really fix this is to dump this regime and get someone in there who is willing to be a bull in a china shop, clean house, fire people left and right. And I do know one person who is famous for that line, "You're fired." So that person's going to be a big topic of conversation, I think, on Wednesday, even though he will be notably absent. But we all appreciate you joining us tonight. We are here at Daddy-O's Diner in Waukesha, Wisconsin, a really wonderful place, and we cannot wait to be back here later on in the week. Everybody have a blessed night.
Here are some of the headlines we are featuring today from your favorite news outlets at offthepress.com. Fox News boss Rupert Murdoch has met twice this year with Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin to urge the popular Republican to jump into the 2024 presidential race. Fears are rising that President Biden will seize on the Maui wildfires and other natural disasters as justification to declare a sweeping climate emergency, which could impact oil exports, offshore drilling, and other industries. 25 million Californians are under flood warnings after the once-in-a-century tropical storm Hillary hammered the state, leaving some residents trapped in their cars or even climbing trees to escape rising waters. And finally, Barbie's reign as the queen of American cinema has ended. After 4 weeks as the top box office draw, the blockbuster movie was knocked from its perch by the DC superhero film Blue Beetle. For stories like these and more updates all day long from your favorite news outlets, go to offthepress.com.
Hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, Stinchfield. I'll tell you what, Hunter Biden's legal team is absolutely amazing. If it wasn't for conservative media getting the story out of this sweetheart deal, if it wasn't for American outrage over this sweetheart deal, Hunter Biden would have gotten away with it. He would have been sailing off to the sunset with no legal issues at all. Apparently, one of his attorneys leaked over 300 pages of documents surrounding the correspondence between the Hunter Biden legal team and the Justice Department. And do you know, this legal team was brazen enough to say, hey, if you don't give him a deal, this is basically what they're saying, we're going to call Joe Biden to the stand as a fact witness. As a fact witness. Well, you know they would have to ask Joe Biden about what's his knowledge about Ukraine, what's his knowledge about all these things, what was his knowledge about the gun charges, what was his knowledge about his son's drug use, what was his knowledge about his son's business dealings. Well, that was too much for this Department of Justice to take. So they caved. And that's how they come up with the sweetheart deal. Now, if it was me, I would have just said, call them, have at it. That's if you're a fair prosecutor. Clearly, we know in the Justice Department they are not fair. In fact, do you know how arrogant this team is? They wanted the Justice Department to charge the IRS whistleblowers who came forward about the Hunter Biden deal and the prospect that they would charge him over the gun charges and the tax issues. The legal team for Hunter Biden was calling for these IRS heroes to be charged with crimes for leaking this information and, in fact, coming through with this information. And just to show you how arrogant his legal team really is, they think we're all idiots. Listen to this.
What's the $7 million over, and how many countries did it come from?
Well, okay, so first of all, it's much more complicated than to say it comes from countries. There are joint ventures between American entities and, in one or two occasions, a potential foreign entity to create the possibility of jobs and energy in the United States. That's too complicated to try to explain.
To create jobs in the United States. That's what Hunter Biden was doing, jet setting around on Air Force Two, creating jobs in the United States. Oh, thank you, Joe and Hunter Biden. I appreciate. He wasn't doing that. He was lining the Biden family pockets is what he was doing, which is why this has led me to believe, when you look at all the evidence now, Joe Biden needs to be impeached. The 300 pages of documents reveal Joe Biden needs to be impeached. Yet, we also learned that Hunter Biden went before the impeachment inquiry investigators into President Trump. So he goes and starts talking with the impeachment team of President Trump. Yet to this day, Hunter Biden has yet to be interviewed by Weiss, the U.S. attorney and now special counsel looking into his case. He's yet to be interviewed or deposed by Republican investigators. But he goes to talk to the impeachment of President Trump team? You've got to be kidding me. If anybody knows what was going on in Ukraine, Hunter Biden surely does. Now the media is getting skeptical on all of this. They still defend Joe to the end. Watch Jake Tapper here.
Trump was right. I mean, he did make a fortune from China, and Joe Biden was wrong. I don't know that he was lying about it. He might not have been told by Hunter, but this blind spot is a problem. Does it concern you as a Democrat?
Well, I think dads have sometimes, and parents sometimes have blind spots about their kids, for sure, and the president may be no exception. But nothing has tied the president to any of Hunter Biden's dealings.
Let me tell you something. I don't have any blind spots to my 14-year-old son. I got eyes in the front of my head, the side of my head, and the back of my head, and they all see 2020. Joe Biden has those same eyes, by the way. He knew exactly what his son is doing, okay? This is why, I'm going to say it again, Joe Biden needs to be impeached. James Comer, head of the Oversight Committee, laid it out like this.
I think the evidence is mounting every day to prove that Joe Biden went to Ukraine for the sole purpose of firing Shokin, who was the Ukrainian prosecutor who was investigating his son for corruption. What we heard in the transcribed interview with Devin Archer was that he said that the owners of Burisma were squeezing Hunter, saying, we need help in Washington. You need to call Washington for help. Of course, the Democrats tried to say that, well, that could have been anybody in Washington. Well, what we've now learned is Joe Biden was using a fake email name to receive correspondence from his staff that he was copying Hunter Biden on.
Yet President Trump is the one that has to turn himself into authorities this week? Not Hunter Biden, not Joe Biden, not any of the Biden crime family. President Trump is. By the way, my idea for President Trump is a very simple one. When he turns himself in, he ought to do it 4:30 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, right before the Republican debates. Turn himself in, come out, hold a news conference, do your interview with Tucker. You'd steal the entire news media's air and fluff when it comes to this Republican debate. You'd steal it all if you were President Trump. Do that. I believe that many of these presidential candidates should be talking about what is going on with President Trump, the persecution of President Trump, should be talking about Hunter Biden, Joe Biden. Instead, from Ron DeSantis, what do we get? We get Ron DeSantis calling all of us, me, all of you who are Make America Great Again patriots, who respect President Trump, listless vessels. That's what he called us. Listen to this.
We have a strand in our party that views supporting Trump as whether you are a rhino or not. And so you could be the most conservative person since sliced bread. Unless you're kissing his rear end, they will somehow call you a rhino. If all we are is listless vessels that's just supposed to follow, whatever happens to come down the pike on Truth Social every morning, that's not going to be a durable movement.
Listless vessels? That is Ron DeSantis' deplorable moment. He needs to leave this race. I've said it before. I will say it now. If he wants to rescue his political career, get behind President Trump and move on. He's not going to do that, though. This was his deplorables moment. Remember this?
You can put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
Here's the thing. When Hillary Clinton said that, I was wearing shirts. Says, I'm a deplorable. You probably were, too. I expect it from Hillary Clinton. I don't expect it from a guy like Ron DeSantis, who was supposed to be a Make America Great Again guy, who was supposed to be an America First conservative, who owes it to President Trump for his spot in the White House. Yet Ron DeSantis went from being my favorite governor in America to acting like a little whiny witch with a B, quite frankly. Now, his team comes out to defend him, and they act like Democrats. How do they act like Democrats? They lie, they gaslight, and they tell you an absolute falsity. Here's a guy that I like, Ken Cuccinelli. I don't know what he's doing on the DeSantis train, but he is. Watch.
I mean, there's a pretty big gap in your cut. So he's talking about some of the folks in D.C. who've endorsed Trump. He's talking about the more general environment and referring to all of us collectively. We can't just sit back and take all of this, be listless vessels. We have to move ahead with a different vision. That was not Trump assigned. And
he's saying that he was talking about the Washington elite, talking about people in Washington. That is not true. It was not deceptive editing on, what was it, CBS's part to put this video together? Just to do this, it's about a minute long, but I'm going to play you the entire clip, and I'm going to let you decide if Ron DeSantis was talking about the elitists in Washington, D.C. as listless vessels, or if he was talking about all of you.
So there'll be people who are huge Trump supporters, like in Congress, who have like incredibly liberal left-wing records that's really just atrocious, and yet they're viewed as by some of these folks as like really, really good. Then you have other people, like a Congressman Chip Roy, who's endorsed me, Congressman Thomas Massey. These guys have records of principle fighting the swamp that are second to none, and yet they will be attacked by some of these people and called rhinos. So it's just been totally detached from any type of substance. And ultimately, a movement can't be about the personality of one individual. The movement has got to be about what are you trying to achieve on behalf of the American people. And that's got to be based in principle. Because if you're not rooted in principle, if all we are is listless vessels that's just supposed to follow, whatever happens to come down the pike on Truth Social every morning, that's not going to be a durable movement.
Can I ask you, that's the complete cut. How does he get to, he was talking about Washington elitists there. He said there are some of these people in Washington that are liberal, but that people follow them and view them great. Some of these folks, that's us, the listless vessels. Now, am I upset with Chip Roy? Yeah, but Chip Roy's not a rhino. Thomas Massey, I've been upset with him before. Sometimes he gets a little crazy when it comes to some gun stuff. Then he's strong on it on other times. But I don't think Thomas Massey's a rhino. I just think that both of them are confused about who they should be supporting. That, Ron DeSantis, was calling all of us listless, like we can't think for ourselves, like whatever President Trump says goes. I will tell you this. President Trump coined the phrase the deep state. I used to call them a ruling class of career bureaucrats. Long before President Trump burst on the scene, I like his term better. I called it the devious media. He calls them the fake news. I like his term better. But I was calling them out long before President Trump ever came on the scene. How dare you? We all have minds of our own. You lost this race with that, and you've lost this race before by ignoring what's going on with President Trump. Well, I want to bring in now legendary conservative talk show host and Republican 2024 presidential candidate, our good friend, Larry Elder, is back with us. Larry, welcome to the program.
Grant, thank you so much for having me. Marvelous monologue. And I need to tell you, I am 99.99999, as Herman Cain used to say, close to making the debate on Wednesday. I'll have an official announcement in just a few minutes, but I'm going to be there. But Grant, regarding your monologue, nobody ought to be confused about the fact that we've got a two-tiered system of justice. Whether you like Donald Trump, don't like Donald Trump, or you're kind of in the middle, the way that Hillary was treated by the DOJ clearly violated the Espionage Act by having the server in her basement, sent and received classified information, lied about it. The way she had 30,000 emails under subpoena, all of a sudden they went poof. She paid for the Steele dossier, got a slap on the wrist by the FEC because she characterized it as legal expenses. Donald Trump characterizes the payments to Stormy Daniels as legal expenses. He's facing criminal charges in New York. Of course, the way Hunter was treated, the way Joe is being treated regarding the documents. He had documents in 4 or 5 different places. Well, say his defenders, he turned over the documents. Donald Trump did not. Fine. Then therefore, the investigation should be easier, yet it is still going on. I have said that O.J. Simpson will find the killer or killers of Ron and Nicole before the Joe Biden documents investigation is concluded. It is absolutely outraged. And the other thing is this, Grant. There's a two-tiered system of media narrative regarding stolen elections. You had Hillary running around for 4 years referring to Donald Trump as stolen, calling him illegitimate. The Democrats challenged the election in 2000. They tried to decertify Florida. They tried to decertify Ohio in 2004. They challenged more states than Donald Trump did in 2016 than Donald Trump did in 2020. Nobody accused them of undermining the foundations of our republic. Nobody called them election deniers. We thought they were whiners who had a First Amendment right to complain. Hillary Clinton, I want to remind you, told Joe Biden during the 2020 election, quote, not to concede under any circumstances, close quote, if it's a close election. Well, it was a very close election. Donald Trump took her advice, used every legal means he had in order to stay in office, and then when those legal means exhausted, he left office. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. That's what he did. Why he's called an insurrectionist is beyond me, and it doesn't take somebody who likes Donald Trump, and I'm a fan, to defend him on those scores.
All right, Larry, let me say this. I have said for most of the candidates in the race to get out of the race. In fact, there's only 2 people besides President Trump that I've said should stay in the race. You, which is why I hope you're on the debate stage coming up soon. It looks like you just very well may be. And Vivek Ramaswamy. No coincidence here. I think these are 2 people, maybe the only 2 people in the race that I would want in President Trump's cabinet, by the way, if we ever got to that point. Not to take away from your race, but that is part of it. And I think you and Vivek bring something to this race. Both are defending what's happening to President Trump, because when he calls us listless vessels, in many respects, he's calling you a listless vessel. Anybody that's an America First guy, a listless vessel. This is bigger than Ron DeSantis and all of these things. It's bigger than President Trump. They are all coming for us. I don't need Republicans coming after me, too, now.
Absolutely. And I'm running as an America First mega guy. I'm a big fan of Donald Trump. I campaigned with him and for him in 2016. I supported him in 2020. And if he's a nominee and asked to campaign with him and for him, I will do so again. But Grant, I am running because I'm bringing forth some issues that nobody's talking about, including 45. And that is the #1 social problem in America by far is the epidemic, not of COVID, but of fatherlessness. And nobody's talking about it. 70% of black kids entering the world today without a father in the home, married to the mother, up from 25% back in 1965. In fact, 25% of white kids are now entering the world without a father in the home, married to the mother. And the stats are clear. If you're raised without a dad, you're 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail. And then we have this disaster known as K through 12 in urban America, where just to pick one city, Baltimore, 13 public high schools where 0% of the kids can do math at grade level. They're all located in the inner city. How is that acceptable? And this lie that America is systemically racist is getting people killed. It's called the Ferguson effect or the George Floyd effect, Grant. It's a phenomenon of cops pulling back all over America for fear of being accused of engaging in systemic racism. And there are thousands of so-called excess casualties, a lot of dead people, most of them black and brown, who otherwise would not have suffered if the police had been doing their normal proactive policing. Those and a handful of other issues I'm bringing forward to the table. And if I'm not the nominee, I want to get the nominee to start talking about those kinds of things and to get America to start talking about them and to address them.
And they need to. because it is an epidemic. This fatherlessness is leading to young black men and Hispanic men being killed at record numbers in cities across America. It really is an epidemic. It needs to be talked about, which is why it's so great you're bringing it up. You got to talk about it someplace that I loved. You went on with Charlemagne the God. He makes a lot of news, people that go on his show. Very popular in many of the urban areas, radio host. You got a little confrontation with him, which I knew you would, and I'm glad you did. Let me roll a clip of that and then get you real quickly to respond on the other side.
I'm acutely aware, Charlemagne, that I'm a black person, just as you are a black person. And when Joe Biden insulted you by saying, you ain't really black, we don't know whether or not you want to vote for me or vote for Donald Trump, it seems to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part. How dare this guy come in here and insult you, a black man, and tell you you got to think a certain kind of way? I'm amazed that you weren't mad about that.
How should I have replied to him, you think?
What I just now said, how dare you insult me and tell me I think as a human being, let alone as a black person? I don't tell you how to think, Joe Biden. How dare you come in here and tell me how I should think?
You know what's interesting is I've heard Charlemagne where I said, okay, maybe he's a free thinker at times. You actually exposed him for not being a free thinker. Where do you think he stands?
You tell me. He's on the left, although he tries to deny it. I mean, Joe Biden came on his show and told Charlemagne, you ain't really black unless you know whether you want to vote for me or vote for Donald Trump. The man wasn't even insulted. And Joe Biden has been pimping black people for decades, lying about his civil rights record, claiming he desegregated movie theaters and restaurants in Wilmington, Delaware. He did not. Remember when Obama came out, he said he's the first clean, articulate African-American. Remember all of that? Lied and claimed that he tried to visit Nelson Mandela during apartheid Africa. Lied and said he was raised in the black church. People at the church said they never saw him. He's been lying for decades in order to get black people to vote for the Democratic Party, because after all, that's the party of social justice. That's the party of equity. Never mind they oppose school choice. Never mind they're allowing a whole bunch of illegal aliens in the country. Illegal aliens pose a bigger threat to jobs for black people living in the inner city than anybody else. Never mind the policies of inflation and high gas prices that hurt the people at the bottom the most. All these policies hurt black people, yet black people blindly pull that lever for the Democratic Party because of rhetoric by people like Joe Biden, and it is time to stop.
I will say for everybody out there listening, nobody is more prepared for a race like Larry is. This is what he did to Governor Gavin Newsom, too. He would reel off stuff that could go on for 10 minutes and it keeps going. Larry, I wish you luck. I was hoping we could officially announce it. I know we're waiting for that to happen, but keep me posted. Right. I hope you get on the debate stage. And I want to remind everybody, LarryElder.com to learn more about his campaign. As you say, throw some money in the tip jar, Larry.
That's right. And Grant, real quickly, As Goes California, my mission to rescue the Golden State and save the nation is my book, all about what Gavin Newsom and the Democrats have done to California. And it's coming to a theater near you if we don't stop it.
Yeah. Larry, I appreciate you coming on the program. I want to give you an early congratulations on the debate. I think it is going to happen. 99.9% chance, he says, it's going to happen. All right. The government is going to start pushing new COVID boosters, but they're already in the process, I believe, of possibly trying to make us wear masks again, too. Is there a new strain? Has the fear-mongering begun? We'll talk about that with Dr. Simone Gold next. Welcome back, everyone. Let the fear-mongering begin.
Tonight, signs of a COVID resurgence. Across the country, COVID hospitalizations jumped more than 14% in the most recent week, but far lower than pandemic levels. NBC News medical contributor Dr. Kavita Patel.
What's behind this uptick?
See what I'm saying? This is happening all over the place. Local news, national news media. COVID resurgence on the way. There's some new virus, this Eris strain, then a Fornax strain, all kinds of strains that you know. The word is they're going to go back to lockdowns and masks and all of these types of things. Now, I'm not one to push things that I see on InfoWars with Alex Jones. He's right sometimes, he's wrong sometimes. But I want to ask you, do you believe him when he tells this story? Watch.
Tuesday, we got called in, the managers, and told that by the middle of September, that the new policy's being written, that this is done. They were told this is happening. This is not hypothetical. You will all have to wear masks again, and so will airport employees. Then by the middle of October, they are going to say that everyone flying has to wear a mask.
All right, this was apparently TSA whistleblowers that called him to a coffee meeting and said, hey, this is what is coming down the pike. Now, I don't think the American people will stand for this again. I see the COVID booster shots now being pushed. What are we on, like booster 26? I don't think masks and lockdowns and everything they did with our school kids, they'll stand for it. But we know they may try again. This is Senator Ron Johnson.
This is all pre-planned by an elite group of people. That's what I'm talking about. Event 201 that occurred in late 2019, prior to the rest of us knowing about this pandemic. Again, this is very concerning in terms of what has happened, what is happening, what continues to be planned for our loss of freedom. Again, it needs to be exposed, but unfortunately, there are very few people, even in Congress, that are willing to take a look at this. They all push the vaccine.
I saw Warren Buffett talking about, we're going to see another pandemic very, very soon. All the billionaires are talking about this is about globalism, it's about control, and of course, it's about rigging another election. Well, with me to discuss this is the founder of the Global COVID Summit, scientist and former director of orbital oncology at MD Anderson Cancer Center. Our good friend, Dr. Richard Urso, is with us. Doc, it's great to have you on. Are you hearing any talk about more lockdowns, more masks? What are you hearing out there with your contacts?
I'm definitely seeing this rise in the fear porn for sure, and that's a real concern because there's really early treatment works. It doesn't matter what they come up with here. Early treatment works, and I think that's the message. They're trying to send this out there that we're not going to be able to overcome the latest and greatest thing, and that's totally untrue. The pandemic policies that they've instituted have created so much havoc. And to institute the same the policies is crazy. And yeah, I am hearing it. I'm talking with some of the pilot teams, and they're hearing it in their meetings that this is going to maybe happen. Well, so that's a real shock.
As you and I know, and we could do a whole other segment on this. The masks have been proven they don't work. I could do it simply by showing you videos of people literally pulling bong hits through the mask and breathing it out and smoke going everywhere. And these particles from the virus are much smaller than anything you can get from marijuana smoke. OK, like literally, that's my scientific experiment is to watch this on YouTube. I know the masks don't work. I think it's about control. Now I'm hearing about these two new strains, the Eris strain and Fornax. Well, what are these?
So, as the virus mutates through the world, you're going to see small adjustments made. And as normally when a virus adjusts, because this was an engineered virus, those pieces that were engineered typically start falling off. And so it usually leads to a less aggressive virus. But occasionally you may find some that may be a little worse off. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. We have treatment. We have so many different ways to attack this thing. And these respiratory viruses are only alive for 5, 6, 7 days. That's why, we have to attack them early from the viral side. But we can attack the inflammation and the respiratory compromise and the blood clotting and everything that occurs later on down the line and save lives. We should have been saving lives doing those simple things. And I'm going to tell you this, they're going to come at us with this over and over, and we just have to be resistant to it.
And you said it. They're already starting. So they're going to all the government experts, COVID boosters, roll clip 3 for the doc.
It's been almost a year since the last COVID booster came out. CDC Director Dr. Mandy Cohen.
The new COVID booster is expected to be approved by the FDA, and then we will make recommendations from the CDC probably by the 2nd or 3rd week of September.
Will it protect against this new strain?
Yes. The booster is tailored to what we are seeing circulating now.
Critics say the federal government is behind once again. People knew there was going to be a COVID resurgence. So why don't we have a booster today? Why do we have to wait until next month?
Why not get it today? Doc, we've heard this all before. We were told they worked the last time around. They didn't work. Does this one work? What number booster are we on? 26?
Grant, the horrible thing about the lipid nanoparticle platform is the lipid nanoparticle itself. It's polyethylene glycol and other poisonous lipids. So what you're doing is you're destroying the body's T cells, the natural killer cells, the cytotoxic T cells. So if you and I, over age 50, we start getting these, we don't make any more T cells. We're going to basically have the equivalent of the AIDS virus if we take 6, 7, 8 of these. We're wiped out our entire T cell system. It's a really bad strategy. As we know, it distributes everywhere. It's a horrible strategy. We need to find, the early treatment strategy is the way to go.
This is all about money and control, isn't it, Doctor?
Unfortunately, the climate science, the transgender science, the science behind this is so poor. I usually say, if you think the best and the brightest work for the federal government, that's not true. You literally find these are not people who treat patients. That woman there who just did that, she hasn't written a paper and done a science. She hasn't sit in a lab in who knows how long. She doesn't see patients, and here she is giving recommendations. These are not people that should be taken seriously because they're basically paid as shills. And I hate to say it, but it's the truth.
It sure is. Dr. Richard Urso, it's so great to see you. I appreciate you coming on short notice tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, absolutely. Look, what did she say? Yes, this works. And then the news reporter, well, can't we just get one now, please? They're sheep. The media are sheep. Some of them are in on it. Some of them are just dopey. I'm convinced of that. All right, folks, coming up next, I'll explain how Joe Biden has been subsidizing illegal immigration with your tax dollars, including the medical bills for illegal children. That's next. Welcome back, everyone. You know how the Democrats have started using this phrase, our children. They're our children. We need to take care of our kids. And I tell you all the time, they're not our children. They're your kids. Happy to help, but they're your kids in the end. I believe there is a push underway right now to bring non-governmental organizations, the globalists, into our public schools to start treating our kids medically and mental health-wise. And they're going to use the ruse of illegal immigration to bring these globalists into schools across the country. You watch. It's starting in Texas, and we have proof of it. Apparently, there is a push to bring NGOs, non-governmental organizations, into local school districts to help take care of the illegals. Your tax dollars would pay for it. And the kids inside these schools. Listen to this audio of one of the NGO executives talking about Fredericksburg ISD and the need for this to happen in their school district.
And as we know, we do have a pretty large population right now in Fredericksburg of undocumented students, and so we would never want them to be denied health care, especially our students. We want them to be able to have access to those needs. One of the services they're wanting to offer us is general primary health care site, and that would be stationed at the elementary school. So there would actually be a clinic. They would work with our school nurse. They would provide a registered nurse.
All right, so that's a social worker for the district trying to pull this non-governmental organization in. Here's where the biggest threat is. It's in rural areas. I have told you over and over again, the reason the Democrats are importing poverty into the United States is to move urban areas into the suburbs. They want to destroy the suburbs, and this is one way they do it. It becomes a draw for all the illegals to go into these schools, free health care for the kids, and then they get the globalist mentality inside our public schools, and next thing you know, they're going after your kids. Well, with me now to discuss all of this is the president for Alliance for Safe Texas. Sheena Rodriguez is with us. Sheena, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Grant, for having me on. It's an honor.
Sheena, am I overstating the position that the globalists want our kids, the Democrats are helping them, and this is one way they get inside our kids' schools?
No, absolutely not. Quite the contrary. You said it best in your opening statement when you had stated that they're going to be pushing this across Texas, especially rural Texas is going to be the target. Actually, while Bethany Blankley with the Center Square broke the story about what is happening in Fredericksburg ISD, that clip that was heard, your audience is hearing that actually one of the social workers talking about bringing the Frontera clinic into the schools. I want to make this clear. This is a clinic that they're wanting to bring into the school, onto the school premises, not a standalone clinic. They have those right up the street. But the situation with these clinics in the schools now, the Texas Tribune actually told us their plan here in Texas and said back in April of 2023 that they were intending, because of the large population of exactly that, just like you heard, the large population of unaccompanied minors that the state of Texas is absorbing, that we need to be able to provide mental health care and pediatric health care. So vaccines, test, you name it, they're going to have access to it on your taxpayer dollars. So this also is an issue that crosses over.
One sec, Sheena, let's break this down one step at a time. My initial reaction would be, I don't want my tax dollars paying for all this. I'm already paying for illegal aliens at my county hospitals. I live in Dallas. Parkland is overwhelmed. Everyone knows the name Parkland. It was the county hospital where JFK was. Same hospital now. Overwhelmed with illegals. My tax dollars are paying for that. I believe this is about that, but I believe ultimately they want to be treating American citizens.
And that is one of the issues. That's why when I say that this crosses over advocacy issues, you're exactly right. There are a lot, we're talking about parental rights issues. We're talking about the cost of the taxpayers. We're talking about incentivizing more illegal immigration into the rural communities by bringing on these socialistic style clinics and programs. But yeah, when we're talking about, gender affirming care that we're seeing, this indoctrination inside of the schools. If little Timmy feels like he wants to be little Kimmy, that we can easily see the vaccines and all that we saw with COVID. We can easily see how, like I said, this crosses over advocacy issues, this is going down a very slippery slope. I've always said that we are on a fast track to bypass socialism altogether and to go straight into communism. And unfortunately, this is just another tactic to be able to do that.
Well, clearly it starts with the children, right? So this is a Texas issue right now. Do we know, is this happening in other states?
I can tell you that I've spoken to another concerned parent in Mason ISD. I just spoke to somebody in Denton. I'm also from the DFW area, Grant. I'm in Tarrant County. I spoke to a mother who said that this is on their school board agenda on Tuesday in Denton ISD. I would be hard pressed to believe that if it's already starting to happen here in the state of Texas, that we're not going to see that across the United States, because we know that and again, they're using it under the guise of, well, we need to do this for the undocumented students to pull at those heartstrings. But this is going to be a problem that we're all going to have to face.
Last question for you. What do we do to push back against this? You know, we talk about the mama bears and papa bears that go into the school board meetings and raise holy hell. What do we do in this case to push back?
We have to pay attention. We have to get active, engaged, and involved. Don't fall for the guilt trips. Pay attention to your school boards. Go back to the very local of levels, right? And hold your elected officials accountable. Even if they're our friends, even if they're our neighbors, tell them what you expect of them. This has to stop.
All right. Sheena Rodriguez, I appreciate you informing us on all of this. Thank you. And I appreciate your organization as well.
Thank you. God bless.
Absolutely. You too. So I really do believe, when I was reading the article at Center Square, that this is not just about the illegal immigrants and their kids. This is about pulling globalist mentality into our schools and starting to indoctrinate the kids that way, under the ruse of we're taking care of the kids. But Joe Biden doesn't care about the kids. You think Joe Biden cares about the kids? If he did, you wouldn't have open borders. That's a huge draw for all these illegals to come up here, pay the cartel members to bring them across, using children as pawns. I will play this clip over and over again. Anthony Aguero on the border, capturing on video, drugged up children. And I do believe this is what they are, being used as pawns for strangers to come into this country, check in with Border Patrol, and move on into a city near you. Watch this.
No reaction from the child. Look at her limp arm. Her veins are visible right now out here, where it's just been sitting, hanging over his shoulder like that. No reaction to that child's face whatsoever. You see her eyes don't react? This other child doesn't react either. Look at that. No reaction.
These are very bright flashlights. What we're told is those kids are then brought back across the border and used again. They're being doped up for this. If we roll back that video, guys, if you could do this on the fly, I don't even care if it looks messy. I want you to look. It looks like a Border Patrol officer that walks right by when we're going by. And it's either a Border Patrol officer right there. See him walk by? Law enforcement, Border Patrol, whatever. There's nothing they can do, we are told. If the children can't say, no, it's not my father, no, it's not my uncle, they let him right on in. They know what they're doing here. The cartels know what they're doing. They know the system. So again, if you think Joe Biden cares about the children, you need to watch that video over and over again. Lord knows what's happening on the way. I'll show you another video from Anthony Aguero. Child's panties on the, just use roll the video without the audio, guys. Child's panties hung on fences along the border. What in the world are children losing their panties along the way for? To me, it makes me sick to my stomach. And yet the Democrats want to claim they care about kids and the compassion for the illegals. Give me a break. You shut the borders down. It's the most compassionate thing you could do to the people that are coming up here with hopes and dreams that, quite honestly, are bogus, fake, and it's a money-making opportunity for the cartels. So Joe Biden is visiting Maui today. How do Hawaiians feel about that? We'll visit that issue coming up next. Well, folks, President Trump has not turned himself in to Georgia prosecutors and the court there. That will come this week. But the terms of his bail have been set. Now, this is an outrage. Take a look at this headline. The Washington Post is reporting that the judge approves a $200,000 bond for President Trump in the Georgia election case. A $200,000 bond. In Atlanta, Georgia right now, for the most part, they have a no cash bail policy, which means if you commit crimes there, you don't have any bail. You're let right out on the street. Where do they think President Trump is going? They think he's a flight risk. If you're in Los Angeles, no cash bail. Baltimore, no cash bail. Atlanta, no cash bail. But they give President Trump a $200,000 cash bail. First off, it's dumb for two reasons. Even in the bail system, $200,000 to a billionaire is literally like 20 cents to you and I. So that's not going to keep him from running $200,000. But it's ridiculous on the other side that President Trump's not going anywhere. He's a former president. Where do you think he can run to? He's the most recognizable person in the world. But here's the heart of it. Here's what they really want. They want him behind bars. They want him to mess up on the terms of his release. Look at this. Let's put it up on the screen, guys. The terms of the release set for Trump in Georgia says he can't intimidate using social media. Quote, the defendant shall perform no act to intimidate any person known to him or her to be a co-defendant or witness in this case, or to otherwise obstruct the administration of justice. The above shall include, but are not limited to, posts on social media or reposts of posts made by another individual on social media. Now, first off, it's already illegal to intimidate witnesses. You don't need to put that in terms of your release. That's like you're not allowed to murder somebody on the terms of your release. It's already illegal. The other aspect of this is, which they don't care about, is First Amendment rights. The president has a First Amendment right. He can share things on social media, okay? And if he was to intimidate on social media, there is a law against doing that already. You don't need this in the terms of release. What's going to happen, President Trump's going to share a tweet, something like that, and you know what they're going to do? They're going to come for him, and they're going to want to put him in jail. Now, the Secret Service can't protect him in prison. So what do they want him? They want him dead? Maybe. They want President Trump 6 feet under? Why do you think that Jack Smith, one of the penalties of the charges brought by Jack Smith in D.C. is death? The only way they can get President Trump off the face of the earth, I hate even saying this, it makes my stomach churn thinking about it, is to eradicate him from the face of this earth. I do believe that's what they want ultimately. Please pray for President Trump. Please pray for his family, that he is kept safe, because these radical Democrats, they are coming for him with a vengeance. Yet I have never seen a man stand as strong as anyone as I have witnessed President Trump standing in the face of all of this. God bless President Trump, and I mean it when I tell you this. Pray for this man. He needs your prayers. He needs it for his safety, and he needs it to keep strong as he is. All right, so Joe Biden today finally goes to Maui. Now, if you remember, he didn't really care about Maui. Remember the no comment? Roll that.
Will you come talk about the Hawaii response, Mr. President?
No comment. People are dying. Disaster was not even close to being averted because of the incompetence of those running the response to these fires. You have no comment. Well, now, after spending some time at his billionaire buddy Tom Steyer's house in Lake Tahoe, apparently he's going to go back, too, and spend another week there on vacation, go figure. He goes to Maui. What do you think Maui residents have to say about all of that? This is a sign from one of the Maui residents, VO3 it is, displaying a sign saying, Trader Joe must go. Trader Joe must go. I could display that sign really in any town in America. How he has any support right now, I have no idea. But this is a Maui resident saying Biden should be prioritizing Maui much more than he is.
So why aren't you taking care of what you claim to be in charge of, rather than sending out all these funds and whatever else you guys are sending to Ukraine or anywhere? Take care of here first. You know, I don't see why any president wouldn't step up and take care of what's part of their, territory. I think it's a stupid move on his part. Biden, yeah, he's an idiot. Sorry.
Yeah, he is. Now, I don't know what her political persuasion was before all this happened. I know Hawaii is grotesquely liberal, and I mean that with a capital G, grotesquely liberal. These kinds of things are wake-up calls when it happens to you. I promise you, everyone in Hawaii was, send money to Ukraine, 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 Ukraine. Insane for Ukraine. But now they're saying, we need the money here. We would rather you help us than overseas. It's a wake-up call. This is a woman on CNN talking about that.
Where's the president? He decides to come here this week, to come here next week. I mean, like, where aren't we Americans too? Like, we're part of the United States, but why are we getting put in the back pocket? Why are we being ignored?
Being ignored because this administration really doesn't care about you. They only care about power and getting reelected. Hawaii isn't all that important to them, so they ignore it. That's why Joe Biden's ignoring it. He doesn't need it to win the next election. He'll get Hawaii anyway. There's enough blind liberal zombies in that state to vote for him. The people of Maui, though, I have a feeling, will not be voting for Joe Biden because of this. Now, the governor of Washington, Jay Inslee, he decided to weigh in on all this. You want to know why people are losing faith in the Democrats? Because of stupid, ridiculous comments like this.
Because the fact of the matter is there's a beast at our door, and that's the beast of climate change. It seems like the whole world is on fire. We need to defend ourselves from climate change. We need to decarbonize our economy so these fires don't ravage us. There's not enough fire trucks in the world to protect us if we don't stop climate change.
We need to defund people like him. We need to protect ourselves from people like him. He is the one that literally will destroy the earth that we know with this radical green agenda. The wildfires in Hawaii weren't started because of climate change. They were started at best because there was a storm and power lines fell down. And then they had, at worst, a horrible response. The other side of it could have been arson, maybe a combination of both. We'll stay on that story, I promise you. Hey, folks, protect yourself with gold today. This is the reason why we got chaos in the world. You can't trust your government right now. They want a centralized digital currency. Why? Talk about a lack of trust. They want a centralized digital currency to track how you spend your money. Birch Gold can help you protect your finances by buying gold. So how do you get with my friends over at Birch Gold? It's super easy. They've set up a way to text them, and they will get back with you. Just text America to the number 989898. Again, America to the number 989898. And talk to the folks over at Birch Gold. See what's right for you. It is a portfolio protection move. I like to say just start hoarding precious metals. Put it in your gun safe, hide it in the backyard, bury it, hide it in your grandmother's attic. But start collecting it, because if chaos does strike, you're going to want it. Don't be late to the game. Text America to the number 989898. Tell the guys over at Birch Gold that Grant sent you. All right, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas gave an answer recently that might explain why he's so bad at his job. We'll play it.
To urge the popular Republican to jump into the 2024 presidential race. Fears are rising that President Biden will seize on the Maui wildfires and other natural disasters as justification to declare a sweeping climate emergency, which could impact oil exports, offshore drilling, and other industries. 25 million Californians are under flood warnings after the once-in-a-century tropical storm Hillary hammered the state, leaving some residents trapped in their cars or even climbing trees to escape rising waters. And finally, Barbie's reign as the queen of American cinema has ended. After 4 weeks as the top box office draw, the blockbuster movie was knocked from its perch by the DC superhero film Blue Beetle. For stories like these and more updates all day long from your favorite news outlets, go to offthepress.com.
Dr. Biden, thank you for convening us and for hosting us. I should say at the very outset that I have always loved school. Except math.
Yeah, except math. He doesn't know how to count illegals. He doesn't know how to count people that he's sneaking in. He doesn't know how to do any counting when it comes to the border. Clearly, he's bad at math. He's also a liar. He knows exactly what the number is. That's going to do it for us, folks. I so appreciate you watching. Don't forget, GrantStinchfield.com, GrantStinchfield.com. Go to Apple or Spotify. Get the podcast, subscribe to it. Really does me a big favor. I appreciate it, and you'll be entertained and informed as well. We'll see you back here tomorrow night. Stinchfield's Army rolls. See you then.
Live from Studio 6B on a Monday night, getting the new week started. Real America's Voice, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. Glad you're a part of the show, as always. Rick Delgado's going to do some news, sitting right there. Slick Rick's going to do sports.